stop trading immediately. It doesn't usually get better if you're already tilted. It's best, generally always, to step away once you recognize that it's a bad day. Now, how bad it is and to what degree, there's some variability with that, but you need some space from the charts. You need to prevent further damage, and trading under stress and emotions usually just leads to more losses. So give yourself some space, minutes to hours to days, depending on the magnitude and who you are and what the trigger was and how bloody it was.
Hey, welcome back. Here at the Market Mamas podcast, I cover a wide range of topics from the intricacies of day trading to mindset mastery and psychological growth, with the goal of the conversations being next level growth for all of us. My name is Becky, and I'm a US-based futures day trader from the Pacific Northwest. My trading experience includes trading stocks, options, crypto, and futures, with both trading a personal account as well as with prop funding companies. Over time, I found that I most enjoy the fast-paced world of intraday futures trading, so that is my primary day trading focus now. Thank you for joining me on the Market Mamas podcast today.
Okay, traders, let me tell you how we're going to break this one down today. I've been a day trader for 4 years now, and I can say with certainty that while I'm working daily to turn my track record, I still have proportionately experienced more lesson days than clean, clear, smooth, green days over the course of these 4 years all combined. But I can also say, matter-of-factly, based on my trading journal, that my trajectory has turned, and I am generally nicely green versus red over this last year at least. So it's pretty great. But what I have been wanting to talk to you all about for a while is the stark differences between the extreme days. And maybe as we get into it, we can easily call out the early triggers and signs of which day is beginning so that we can ideally cut short a potential mass casualty day before it gets that bad. In this episode, I'm going to frankly lay out for you what my best and worst days have been like and how I'm focusing on keeping my momentum going in the green direction month over month. Thank you for being here with me today. Okay, so in deciding how to structure this topic to chat with you guys today, I had to go with bearing it all on the ugly days first, just to get it out of the way. And as my friend Sean once put it, we can end with a palate cleanser as we review ideal outcomes and our intentions to most often experience those great days in the second half of the conversation. To close out our time together today on a positive and motivational vibe instead of in the, negative waves. But real quick, I do have to take a moment and just ask you guys if you could hit the like and subscribe button for me if you would. It really helps me and the podcast more than you know, and I promise you, I really just aim to bring helpful, authentic discussions to you all with the goal of building us all together. So the genuine energy is definitely behind everything that I put out there, Market Mamas. Okay, so about my worst days. Let's do this. A very hard day as a trader typically includes a combination of one degree or another, emotional, technical, and or financial stressors. Okay. So often one thing goes wrong early in the session, right? Or early in our day before even our trading session. And we don't fully recognize it, or we recognize it, but we don't give it enough credence for its impact that it could have. And we just keep trucking along in our morning. But the tilt can start just that easily. One little thing can lead to another, and before we notice, systems are failing and our emotions are starting to take the wheel. There are generally warning signs being thrown up, whether it's your first stop out or an inappropriately short and irritated comment between a family member and you, in which ideally, right, hopefully I can notice the fight or flight kind of start to uptick in real time here. That's the best if we can catch it. But in my experience, we have to be calm and very self-aware in those moments to catch these early signs before the snowball really starts to roll. And that does not always happen, right? If we can catch ourselves and make smart choice to walk away and take a break from the charts to cool it back off, then the day is contained and our system holds steady, strong. A losing trade is not in itself a negative sign, to be clear. They will happen in the business of risk that trading is, right? However, the key here is to catch a potential trigger early and respect its risk and impact to our mindset and energy. When caught and managed appropriately and purposefully, we're solid and our day is fine. Even if we leave it there and accept a small losing trade in the setting of your first trade being stopped out, that's a very reasonable outcome for one day out of a trading month. Normal and should be an expected part of being a day trader. That is not, however, as easy and intuitive as it sounds on paper. In the moment, for me at least, it's hard to accept defeat on any trade and to feel content then with that being my trading day's outcome. People who know me know it's hard to sit in a loss and just let it be. I often have to battle an internal urge to fix it as soon as possible so that my day can end beautifully green, my naturally preferred trading outcome. Here's where my day can go in one of three directions. First, I accept that defeat gracefully, walk away, busy myself elsewhere in other responsibilities, let it lie, and call it a day on the charts. By the next morning, one small stop out that leaves no carryover emotions, and it's done. I can start fresh, ready to conquer my day, my account balances having remained essentially completely stable if I just had one small stop out the day before, right? Second option, I walk away, breathe deeply, snuggle a kiddo or two, get them situated for school, and then I come back to my charts. I'm focused, I'm intentional on my system, I'm calm, I can be patient and focused. In that situation, Miss Market is abundant, and I generally always can spot another great opportunity within my trading system. And then I nail one or two good trades and indeed close out my trading day profitable and satisfied. But let me tell you about that third demon option that you all likely know is coming if you have attempted day trading. That red day that I just had that morning, it's going to piss me off in this option. I really was sure that level that I got in on, I was sure it was going to hold. In my mind, I entered a winning trade. So what the hell? When it didn't win and it put my accounts into red on the morning right away, I was not happy. I don't catch my irritation and self-righteousness in the moment. I don't walk away and I don't take deep, centering breaths. Rather, I go harder at Miss Market. I may re-enter a trade nearly immediately with my normal leverage, or heaven forbid, heavier size in an attempt to make back my losses even quicker. My vision narrows and I take in less pertinent data by the second. I focus only on my execution chart and I tune out the larger timeframes and objective data that I normally would be continuously monitoring and factoring into my decisions. My heart rate and breathing rate have increased. My palms sweat, and my live journaling has gone by the wayside. It's a recipe for disaster. On these days, the losses come steadily. There are all kinds of ways that this can go down, depending on your personality and tendencies compared with mine. But often, for all of us, it's a mix of, here's the list: revenge trading, chasing the market, over-leveraging, doubling down, adding to losers, moving your stop loss, squeezing the one good trade you get in there, taking more risk on poorer trades, flipping teams haphazardly, and resetting accounts like they're going out of style. Yeah, I have done all of that on more than one occasion over the years. They are bloody, painful, regret-laden days that can haunt me for many days to follow. Sometimes I can turn it around within that session, and sometimes I can catch them early before the worst damage is done. But fully authentically with you guys, not always have I been able to catch them before it really blows up. Thankfully, I can say that I do now, in year 4 of my trading journey, have way less of these days. And I really, pretty much always, I catch and stop them before all my accounts are wrecked. But these were my early teachers. The tearful, frustrating, demoralizing, sad days that I had to purposefully choose to grow past instead of wallow in, which also is easier said than done during those phases of a trader's journey. So in order to prevent harm in the future, it is best to learn all we can about the risks so that we can also learn how to best mitigate them. So let's do that together for a minute then, right? If you've had this hard day, it's worth a discussion to remind us how we want to be. For me too, what can be a potential catalyst for these days then, okay? So let's talk about that. There are some predefined, like we all know, potential risks to any trading system. Those looking like unexpected market volatility in a sudden sharp move that was not aligned with your strategy, such as like with major news or a federal announcement. A sharp, prolonged, seemingly unprecedented, abnormal movement push, gap up or down that invalidates your planned entry or exit. earning surprises. We've all experienced those, especially if you're a swing trader. Whew, careful. And then also sudden geopolitical events that spike or crash the market so fast. In another vein, the irritation could come from unexpected technical failures that are very frustrating and distracting, either from your internet or a hardware infrastructure issue, your data feed, or even a platform or broker malfunctioning issue. Like I have experienced all of those myself, in my journey. So it's real. But you can usually get on top of those once you identify them and fix them. But then, of course, there's the myriad of psychological and emotional factors that are the biggie potentials that sneak in on us. So those are like, multiple trades hit your stop loss in a row. That's a big trigger. Getting chopped up in sideways markets by fake breakouts that cause, let's be real, they cause death by 1,000 paper cuts from the small losses that accumulate so quickly in those crappy tight days. Emotional overreactions, such as revenge trading, hesitation, or FOMO. Feeling isolated, stuck, or out of control in your trading journey, especially if you don't have close people to confide in. Also, oversizing positions in hopes of recovering losses is super dangerous. Entering impulsive trades outside of your normal setups. Staying in losing trades too long, or conversely, exiting winning trades too early. Missing opportunities within your system. Also, poor nutrition or sleep or over caffeination, honestly. And then also like burnout if you're over trading too much or you're in way too many positions. And of course, this list is not exhaustive as long as it is. But just from these alone, it's clear that there are so many potential factors that can go wrong early in our trading session that can lead us down such a dangerous path for our day and our accounts. And depending on how we can move forward from these triggers and the hit to our accounts that it caused, there could be additional aftermath that makes it even worse before it can get better. It's like a trader, you could then experience a loss of confidence going into the next day. That carryover, it can haunt your dreams. It can haunt your pre-market plan. You just keep thinking about the loss, and it really messes with my morning mindset for sure. Even that night, the night of the losing day, like it can cause difficulty in logging the trades and reviewing your mistakes due to the legit like volume and chaotic nature of your trading day if it was really bad. And then also a pressure to make it back so quickly in the next week can make you trade more aggressively, which often just leads to further losses. This situation is so multifaceted that it's no wonder that it's normal. I'm going to say it. It is normal for traders to take many months to years to work through all the growth and lessons on the way to stabilizing as a consistently profitable trader. Quite frankly, there are so many ways to fuck it up. And as a trader, work through these lessons that each situation provides takes a lot of energy, and the growth, it does come. But those days, they hurt. I'm not going to lie. I know from experience. Okay, that was the bad news. These fuck-ups are pretty much guaranteed part of the process as a trader progresses along the journey. So if you have had these terrible days, it means you're a trader, right? It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means you're a trader, and this is a damn hard thing. To what degree and impact each trader will experience them, though, is more personal and unique to the trader and their circumstances. So that's what gives us all such individual and interesting trader origin stories, right? Some traders will never have certain struggles because of just who they are. And some will experience the same issue hundreds of times before they finally can do what they need to do to improve beyond it consistently for them. And a big reason from this is why I love having guests on the show. I love talking about what shapes traders in their system and their habits and how they move through the market and what they choose to execute on as they progress in their journey. So, side note, if you have ever considered it, please email me. It's listed in the description because we should talk about you coming on the podcast and being a guest with me too. It's so interesting to figure out what sets other people off and how they have learned and grown past it. I think it's so interesting. Okay, so let's get into the more uplifting part of this conversation, more empowering part. How can we best mitigate these hard days and lean into more of the clean, smooth days, or at least even just the moderate and manageable ones? Let's say you did have a toxic day and it was very bloody. What is the most ideal way to recover and get back on track? I'm going to tell you what works for me and what I, have studied and think is helpful. First, stop trading immediately. It doesn't usually get better if you're already tilted. It's best, generally always, to step away once you recognize that it's a bad day. Now, how bad it is and to what degree, there's some variability with that, but you need some space from the charts. You need to prevent further damage, and trading under stress and emotions usually just leads to more losses. So give yourself some space, minutes to hours to days, depending on the magnitude and who you are and what the trigger was and how bloody it was. And then once your trading session has closed, for me, I choose to wait until after 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and the market is closed, because if I go back to my system for this next part, sometimes I'll just keep trading. So for me, once my trading session, my hours that I trade is closed, and I've had some distance to settle myself down, I go back to my system and my charts and my executions. I don't avoid the pain. Instead, I review it. I log the trades honestly and pretty thoroughly if it wasn't like a full-on crazy day, hopefully. Those are much less for me. But I log the trades honestly, my entries, my exits, what went wrong, why I made the choices that I made. And I do, in that journal, I try to note my emotional decisions, such as if I was revenge trading or I hesitated on the entry and chased and took a poor loss. Because I want to know, like in that reviewing process, I want to know, did I follow my plan? If I didn't, why? I think understanding this, the why we diverted from our plan, I think that is so powerful for the lesson to actually be able to change us, to sink in deeper and get to the root of the issue that is causing these hard days. And so getting into the why when you review your toxic days is important. Let's make them teach us, you know? But then you also need to detox emotionally, right? We have to shut down the negative vibes. Take a walk, journal, whatever serves you in your heart with the journal. Talk it out with your trading people or an accountability partner if you have one. Don't bottle it in, because sometimes it can just build within you and come out in worse ways even. I think it's good for me to remind myself that one day doesn't define me. Like, I can still be in a really good trader and had a really shit day. And it doesn't mean that I'm not still a good trader, especially if I choose to accept the lesson from it. And then if I needed, I can take a day or two off the charts after that, depending on what the carryover is for me and how it really made me feel, because that allows me to cut off the pressure that it may have built up inside me and allow my nervous system to rest and reset. Like that was in a recent episode about letting your system reset and pause, and how that is powerful for moving forward. This is the time for that. When you have a potentially really crappy day, you need to let it pass through you, right? It's an important mental shift that we need to do. Okay, so if you need a little rest, then you kind of gotta make sure you're putting energy in reframing the experience. So we've said this before too in multiple episodes, but you have to look at losses as a trader as your tuition, right? We're not paying a university instructor to teach us a career path that we'll get a degree at the end. However, we are paying Miss Market for these lessons, right? What did the market teach you when you paid for that very expensive lesson? I always try to view hard days as lesson days. You've heard me say that a million times, because it puts it in the positive light, right? Trading I love. And so I don't want the negative days to feel heavy and gross. I want them to feel like they were a necessary part of who I'm becoming. And this is really helpful for me. And then I also think about, is there a setup or condition now with that lesson that I understand better? So get specific with it for the day that you had. These days have distinct potential to really teach us the most. Out of your entire week, you have 4 green days and 1 really awful day. Like, that is the powerful day, if you can think about it that way, right? Maybe it was a trending day and you're better at rotational mean reversion setups. And that was something that you still needed to beat into your brain. And so to be specific about the bulk of the reason why you had the hard day, let that be powerful. And that's my opinion. And so when you re-enter your arena, when you're ready, you'll have to rebuild your confidence slowly. I think this is important too. So you want to start your next trading day with even a smaller size potentially than what you do, because that takes some pressure off and it allows you to trade your system without as much stress maybe. You also want to focus on your A+ setups and try and take quality over quantity trades, which I love. Also the one trade mindset, one good trade, as another way to put it. You just try to, when I make my pre-market hypothesis, I try to outline what the absolute best trade would look like, what level would hold, how it would present, and how I would execute on it. And then aim to just execute on my A+ setup, which ideally is how I approach every day. But when you're coming off of a tilt situation, you really want to push that as your agenda, especially. And then that will help you kind of aim at regaining discipline, not money. That's a key point. Regain your discipline first, not the money first, because then that will set you right on the path that is successful and profitable if you have a successful edge. It's to not focus on the P&L, but to focus on your system that is successful for you and that you have back-tested and studied and you know. Within any trader system, this is another important point. I think you need to establish a plan for how to prevent hard days from occurring and repeating. We know they happen. We know that they're a risk. When you're early trader, they happen a lot. And so having a successful trading business system, I think this is a part of that, is to know what measures we can put in place in order to decrease the likelihood of them. So here are some tools that bear repeating in this discussion here. I actually found 6 of them that speak to me specifically that I think are worth passing on to you guys to help us have less of these freaking awful bloodbaths. So I know not all of us like to do this, but have a predefined daily loss limit. I sometimes call it my daily max loss. It automatically hits your stop for the day once it's hit, and that causes you to be locked out of your system one way or another. You shut down your system, you close down your computer, you just stop. You no longer can execute. You have proven to yourself that it is a real bad day and your accounts can't sustain much more hit. And I recently read this analogy that I love. It says, treat a max loss safety lockout like an airbag. It's unpleasant, but it's protective. Makes a lot of sense. Also, mentioned in almost every episode, but it's because it's really true. Use a trading journal. So document not just your trades, but your mindset. And then also I love putting in there your pre-market hypothesis in comparison to your actual executions, which shout out to Elier. He's one of my very good friends and an excellent trader. He's really good at this in his journal of comparing his daily hypothesis with his outcomes. And then it's really powerful for him to know, I won that day. So funny that I actually traded my hypothesis that I planned out and it worked out. And then on losing days, often the inverse is true, is that you had a great plan and then you went off script and sometimes that goes red. So to make your journal matter in ways that serve your momentum forward and teaches you more than just how many points you were red. And that also can help you spot your patterns, emotionally or strategically, that has led to trouble. And so by doing that deep dive in your journaling process, that can help you just be able to catch things sooner, knowing that this is my risk day. This is what it kind of looks like. I need to be extra cautious should I see it again. That's another powerful point to journaling. So the number 3 is stick to a strict trading plan. It's so easy to say, right? We all intend to do that, to only trade our setups and to pay acute attention to do our best at preventing any impulsive trades and just following our plan, what we understand to be our edge and what that looks like and what our entry signals would be. That's the only thing that will trigger us to get into a trade. Seriously, just have that be your plan every day. Limit the number of trades per day to avoid over trading as part of a plan. I mean, that's important, even if you're green, I would say. If you have a nice, good green trading morning, sometimes limiting saying that one and done is done, or you only get 2 trades, even if you're really feeling this market. Over trading can lead to executing with less and less mental capital as the day wears on, because every time that you take on risk, you make your decision analysis plan, you get into a trade, you manage the trade, you get out, that's taxing. That is equivalent to a runner doing a sprint in a race. They get done, they hydrate, they stretch, whatever. They could maybe do a couple good ones in a session, but they're not going to be top notch if they just try to do it back to back to back all day. So recognizing even on a good day, limiting the number of trades in a day is important for giving credence to your mental capital bank. Number 4, avoid trading during high risk times unless you have a very specific, highly studied skill for that. So during the CPI, Fed days, earnings announcements, either plan for those very intentionally or just know when they are and stay out. And then always pay attention to to Forex calendar, right? To know when the scheduled volatility risk times are coming so that you can protect your backside at all times. You don't want to be left vulnerable in a trade that you maybe don't even half like, you're not sure about. Well, you're in a trade and that volatility is going to come. Oftentimes those events can whip around, even if your direction is right. A stop can get taken so easily. So monitoring that calendar always should be a part of your base system, no matter what. And if you're not doing that as a trader, like you got to write that into your plan, in my opinion. And then don't chase those volatility moments unless you really have studied the situation thoroughly and your specific edge thrives on it. You know, if that's something you really just desire to try, I would definitely say start in sim potentially, or even micros, just to really respect the fact that they can move very fast at, not frequent, but specific times that we understand within the financial industry. Number 5, practice mental resilience. So use techniques such as meditation, breath work, regular hard exercise, cardio, whatever have you that serves you, yoga, and visualizations. And so those things help your mind calm down and manage your emotional triggers better, and aims to help you, catch yourself that getting in a heightened fight or flight and bring you back down to something that is more center, put you back in your body, and gets you out of worrying high speed thoughts that maybe are just not beneficial. Number 6, here's a suggestion that I recently read to close us out that makes so much sense to me. And that is to have a reset protocol as part of your trading business plan. So what is that? A reset protocol. So this would be like a checklist or ritual that you follow after a bad day. And that could include something like no charting in the evening so that you could fully decompress and step away and reset yourself. Reviewing and journaling would definitely be a part of that reset. And then specifically when you journal, potentially writing down at least 3 lessons, because then that reminds you to hunt for the lessons in your day so that you make it worth it for you. You make that loss mean something for your momentum forward. And then, let that go, right? And then revisit your long-term goals. Like, what is your plan? What's your plan for the month, year, 5 years? How does that look like? How is your system serving that? And kind of focus back in on what you're trying to do big picture. And then, you guys know me now. I really love to think about what I have that I am grateful for already that is separate from trading. So if I'm trying to reset from a hard losing day, I want to remember that my whole self-worth is not tied into my P&L. I want to know that I have these things going for me in my personal life, with my family, other things in my life that I am pursuing, such as the podcast or what have you. There are things in my life that I'm so blessed and grateful to have that I am pretty damn good at also. And so pulling that positive energy to the forefront of you, for me, it really helps me get away from the negative outcome, saying that potentially I just really messed up my trades that day. And also part of that is speaking to someone in my inner circle that really is grounding and supportive. I have a couple people that really, Jermaine, of course, my mentor, my very good friends, Peter and Waji, and my husband, really help remind me that I'm good, that I'm okay. So you have a short list for you of people that you can call depending on your and their availability when you need to just get it out, because I think that really is helpful to say what you experienced, and then they can kind of help ground you and help support you so you can move forward. Okay, so that's kind of what I would put in my reset plan, my reset protocol. What about you guys? What did I miss? So we talked about what a terrible day looks like, triggers for that, and ways to kind of catch it early, and how to reset and get ourselves back on track for moving forward. What do you guys do? I want to know what helps you move forward from a bloody day in terms of, what choices you have done, what has been the best. We love your tips. In terms of my most post-toxic day activities, I really vary on the choices that I do day to day based on what's going on, what has happening with the family, what I have to do. But I generally always will feel better if I just get space. Like in the moment, I'm not going to feel better if I stay in my office, if I stay staring at my charts, if I'm so frustrated, I'm trying to see well, now it's going to the target that it wouldn't do earlier. That's terrible. You guys know what I'm saying? So I try to busy myself with other tasks, something I have to do in my home, my family needs or commitments. Sometimes I can't just pull myself into something that makes me happy, like grateful for my thriving vegetable garden or whatever. Sometimes I can't. But the best thing that I can do in that moment is to simply start releasing the miserable feelings slowly and then migrating my emotional sentiment to a less awful place, like go to something that is, at least neutral. And some things that will help me is I'll just like crank up really great music, or even just put on like a really good movie, a really good sweat session, right? Exercise as something that I try to do after every trading session, win or loss, because it pulls me out of that like focus on every single candle mode and into my body. And it's something that's productive for my whole self that I really want to prioritize. And then sometimes after my bloody days, I will do a deep kind of manic cleaning day where I just like really handle my house. So those are the things that I personally do that help turn my vibe and settle myself down and focus on other things that pull me out of like a misery of watching the candles progress when I'm potentially locked out and I hit my max daily loss and I can't fix it. So then I have to do something else. These things help me. And then also it's going to look different for all of us based on our personalities, our daily habits, our homes, our schedules, our family size. So you guys know what makes you feel more peaceful. And so definitely just prioritize those activities, right? That's the essence of this, is do what serves your heart and soul to try and pull you out of that funk. Because the longer you stay in a bad vibe, the longer it's going to take to get out of it. That's just reality. Okay, so in comparison, talking about a nice, sick, winning green trading session. Okay, so that feels like a breath of fresh air. If you are a trader still pushing through the hard days, then you must have had some awesome wins thus far that have gotten you hooked on the potential that trading really provides. Early wins truly are the hook into this world. I still remember how my early wins, the early bigger wins, was like, it was such a high, right? It was like, oh my God, this world is amazing. Like, look what I can do. I want to do this all the time. I want it always to be this day. And as I've matured as a trader, the highs have mellowed and winning is now, honestly, it's kind of an expected outcome for my skill level and expertise. Like I expect to win most days, but I don't blindly expect to win. And I know that it's not guaranteed by any means. So it's kind of like an eyes wide open, but that's generally where I'm at in my trading journey. But I aim for more neutrality with my outcomes, because the highs, sometimes you get a really good high, you want to chase it. And that can lead to, a little bit of angsty trading, potentially over leveraging. That's not great either, really. So I do believe in the power of positive feedback, though, as a trader. And in general in life, parenting, all the things, I think positive feedback is really helpful to progress yourself on a journey, right? So I do always try to celebrate executing not just my trades, but executing my process well, following my trading rules during my trading session, trading my hypothesis, win or lose. I think that's a really great choice for me, because I make my hypothesis with my most calm-centered self pre-market. And I think that is the most ideal trade that I'm looking for. And if I execute on that, that is a win. And then, of course, I do celebrate a winning, financial outcome as well. I really want to reinforce the decisions that I have made in my mind and in my system, so that I can naturally, by celebrating, I can kind of naturally call more of those days to me. Because I think that, when you know what you want and you focus your energy there, you're going to see more of that a little bit. It's the cognitive bias that we all can have. So for me, when I do get a really nice green morning, let me break it down real quick. So I wake up on time, I'm calm, I focus on some pre-market gratitude and deep breathing. I feel centered and peaceful. A little bit of coffee, but I don't even honestly consume most of my coffee till after my trading is done. But I will go to my office when my house is still quiet, listen to my mentor's pre-market outline and do my own pre-market analysis and write out my hypothesis on what I feel like the day is setting up at based on pre-market data, yesterday's information, market context, the levels that I understand, and the edge that I have. And then I'll write out my hypothesis for what I think the day will bring. Also, when I'm writing out my hypothesis, I write out some just brief affirmations that speak to me that day about who I am and how I want to behave in my trading session. Deep centering breaths when market opens. I wait for the first, candles to move a little bit. And then usually in the first, I would say 5 to 15 minutes is when my trade plan sets up. And so when I see my level that I'm watching for, I see the candles get there and I see the reaction happen. If it's showing me a candle pattern, a setup, a hold or resistance or a bounce that I am anticipating, that's my entry. When I see my entry, I get in. And then what I really like lately that I've evolved into is I'll get in with one contract with Dow Jones Industrial Average Future. And then when I will wait for a little bit more confirmations before I add. My usual size is 2 contracts for my day trades. And when it starts to move in my direction or it shows me a hold, it shows me the level is continuing to stay, but it hasn't really moved yet, I'll add my second contract in. I'll fine tune my stop based on now having my full size on. And then I literally sometimes have to scoot back from my desk and breathe, let it happen, remind myself that this was my plan. This is a really good trade setup. This is why I see it. I'm watching these other timeframes on my other monitors to see what they are telling me, confirmation, or if there's something, a warning sign that I need to watch for potentially exiting. And then I really try to just hold it. And so for me, I'll get in at my level. I'll have pretty good entry based on my average price for the ad that I did. And then I wait. I have one target out at, a reasonable close-ish target to lock in some profits on the day. And then once that is hit, then that's when I decide if I tighten up my stop on the second contract, either to a little bit closer or break even, or even if it was a big move, slightly into profit based on a 5-minute generally candle closing. So one contract is out. I've snugged my stop to some degree or another. Pretty much at that point, I'm guaranteed a green trade. Just an amazing place to be, right? Do you guys know that feeling? Like you've locked in some profits, the trade's moving in your direction. You're like, okay, so no matter how this goes, either I have a medium winning day or a nice winning day. That's my favorite. So then I can be even more patient. Sometimes I need to let the trade have, 20 to 30 minutes to get to my eventual target. And so I'll often at that point step out of my office, go visit with my kids where my husband is getting ready for school, help where I can, and then watch it on my phone or come in and out. Sometimes I even take my kid to the bus stop and I come back in and it's still in play. But I want to be following the data a little bit looser at that point and watch it show me that it's still going in my direction, in which case I need to just breathe and have some patience and let it go. Because if I'm trying to get a bigger win for that day, it's not going to happen in 5 to 7 minutes. Used to be, I really liked when I was a younger trader, honestly, I really liked when my trades lasted 5 minutes because I was in, I was out, flew straight to my target. Yeah, which was great. It was good points. It added up, especially when you're copying and it's compounding. But I can usually take more if I am honest with myself and how I have grown. So I want to get out at that first good target. But then I like to hold a second contract to a deeper target if I see it happening. So best day, right? I'm out at a good target. I move my stop. 15 to 20 minutes later, it hits my second target that is farther down in that direction. It was really a great morning. I had my focus quiet time in my office. I get 35 minutes with my husband's assistance with the children so that I can really focus. That's my sacred time in my office where they are not supposed to bug me unless it's a real significant need. And then after that, I just have to help with them because my husband has to get to his job. And so then I just start loosely managing it. And I really still prefer one and done. Like I love my crazy life. I love that I have 3 children and I want to see them and be with them before their day starts. And then I still have a toddler at home. My baby is 3. So I, one and done trade is my ideal day. I lock in good profits, squarely within my, minimum to my maximum regular win. And then I journal it in the moment because it's still fresh in my mind. I walk away, I shut down, I exercise, I attend my live stream with my team. And then I do whatever I want to do with my day. It's amazing. This is the financial abundance that trading provides, and it's fucking amazing, right? When you have been in this game, for me, it was 4 years where I'm at right now. I can do this day pretty freaking often, and that's great. It allows my accounts to compound. I copy every trade, pretty much every trade. There's some days I choose not to based on different things, but mostly I trade copy everything. So everything is compounded. I am, high 80s win rate, I would say. And so it's really amazing. So you weather the red days. They're heavier in the beginning than we want. You learn all the things we talked about today about how to suck a little less over time, honestly. And you cement the lessons. You listen to the lessons. You don't bury them under the rug. You let your mess ups teach you. And then you slowly start to have more green days, and then you lean into those. I'm grateful for my green days. I know what it feels like to execute them. I know the behaviors that I am doing that lead to more green days. And so then I do more of those behaviors. That's that positive feedback loop. And then eventually everything is just more green than red. And this is the journey of a trader. If you can withstand the process long enough, if you can do all these things to help turn your trajectory and your momentum for the green direction, that's amazing. So I wish that you all are in this with me. You have turned the momentum and you are steadily climbing. And if you're not, hit me up if you want to talk more, or if any of these lessons were helpful for you or you need more, let me know that too. Because I think it's important to think about this kind of thing, what has served us, what hasn't. And this episode was really kind of designed to be a full circle, like breakdown from my worst trading days through how I identify the risk factors as early as I can in an attempt to prevent those full-on tilt sessions, which I have experienced. And then through my best tips on recovering from a bloody trading session, and then celebrating a recent sick winning day. Like, these are the days that I love, and I want to celebrate them with you guys too. These are the days of my life, and I really lean heavily into gratitude, as I said, as a person and as a trader. And so I find it to be a very influential and rewarding, wonderful, happy, emotional state that fuels more great things in my life that I am grateful for, such as you all. So thank you very much for being here with me at Market Mamas. It's just a fact that if you're a day trader, you need a community, big or small, in person or virtual, even just a couple people, to have these open and kind of at times raw conversations when we're working through this kind of thing. So if you don't have that, or you want more of that, I can be there with you. Like, watch the episodes, hit me up, send me an email, or leave a comment, and we'll chat. But I want to, with you guys, let's celebrate our wins and learn from our lesson days as we remain relentless towards our greatest goals and dreams. I think that's where I want to live as a trader. That's what's serving me. And so that's what I'm up to. Anyways, it's keeping me on the right side of my goals thus far, so I'm going to keep it up. Please take a moment, if you will, drop a comment below and tell us any tips or tricks that you have to help you out, because you never know who might need to hear what you have to say, and you can kind of augment what I have pulled together and wanted to share with you guys too. So that's where I'm at. Thank you for being here as Market Mamas with me. Take care, everyone, and happy trading.